You know, my heart breaks for the people of Syria. I can't even tell you. I've just watched a video that was recorded in Syria, along the border of Lebanon, as over 2,000 people were trying to get out of Syria along the border of Lebanon, right up against it, trying to get in through the gates. Let me read this to you. The United Nations reporting up to 2,000 Syrians flee the violence into Lebanon. Heavy shelling from Syrian towns of Qusar heard on the Lebanese border as women and children were seen fleeing by foot. Up to 2,000 refugees fleeing violence in Syria are crossing the border into northern Lebanon. A spokesman for the United Nations Refugee Agency told Reuters yesterday on March the 4th, 2012. Between 2,000 Syrians are in the process of coming from Syria into Lebanon. And the UNHCR deputy representative in Lebanon, Jean-Paul Calavir, told Reuters news agency. Numbers will become clear in the coming hours that this is what we are hearing from our teams on the ground and local authorities. Reuters witnesses on the Lebanese border heard heavy shelling. Now this is people in Lebanon could hear the shelling, heavy shelling, coming from the nearby Syrian town of Qusar earlier on Sunday, and saw many women and children fleeing toward Lebanon on foot. The people said they were sat at home, and suddenly the shelling started, and they fled. They said it was a tank shelling and gunfire. Opposition activists reported Sunday that the Syrian army has been shelling the rebel outpost in the city of Rastan, located some 20 kilometers from Homs, since the morning hours. As of Sunday afternoon, yesterday, March the 4th, 2012, Syrian authorities have yet to allow the Red Cross officials to enter to the war-ravaged neighborhood of Baba which is in Homs. Red Cross teams have begun distributing aid in other villages near Homs and plan to move to other neighborhoods sheltering families who have fled the battered districts. It is a positive step, but we want to enter into the area today, stressed the International Committee of the Red Cross. The spokesman was speaking there. According to Geneva rules, according to him, assisted included food, blankets, hygiene kits, first aid care provided as volunteers were trying to get this into the people. Let me just explain to you what's happened. Assad has massacred and murdered thousands of his own people. Now, here's something you need to know. 10,000 Syrians at least are dead. 2,000 yesterday fleeing into Lebanon to get out of there. 35,000 Syrians have already fled into Jordan and are living in refugee camps along the Jordanian and Syrian border in Jordan. They're being fed every day by the Jordan government. Over $1.5 million a day now to feed and to clothe and to shelter in some makeshift camps 35,000 people. What happened was when the United Nations voted a resolution, 137 nations of the world said that Assad must be removed from power, that his regime is over, and that he has massacred the people. There were 12 nations that voted no. But here's the problem. 2 of the 12, one was Russia and one was China. And of course, they're both permanent members of the Security Council. So they were able to veto the rest of the world. So you got 2 nations telling the rest of the world, basically, this is the way it's going to be. And then after that resolution was vetoed, no one has come to the people's rescue. They have begged. They had the advantage. The people had taken over some of the cities, taken over the strongholds, and was pushing deep, deep, deep into Damascus. But once the UN resolution was vetoed by Russia and China, the tide turned. Russia began to filter in weapons, supplies, artillery, tanks, guns. And they put in the hands of Assad the weaponry he needed to start an all-out assault upon the citizens of his own country, massacring them, murdering them, executing them, raping them. It's brutal what's going on. The reports, I didn't read the article. I read this one here. But the reports coming out is that in Homs, the city of Homs, they've taken the city back over. They've pushed and fought back and have pounded down and cracked the heads. But they're not just, that isn't it. They took the city. And as they're in the city of Homs, they're going through systematically and they are executing people. They are shooting and murdering people. They are raping the women. They are literally tearing the city apart limb by limb to send a message to the rest of the country. This is what's coming. This is what you get for trying to remove Bashar Assad from power. Now understand something. The Bible says if you want to take a city, you must first bind the strong man. You see, the Assad family have been criminals, murderers, massacring the meanness of power. You think Saddam Hussein was the butcher of Baghdad? Well, the President Assad is the slicer of Syria. He's been a murderer. His daddy ruled that country for 32 years and killed over 80,000 people during his reign. His son, Bashar Assad, has been in power 12 years. And he is, over 10,000 are dead. 35,000, like I said, have fled into Jordan. 2,000 yesterday, rushing the borders of Lebanon. Please let us in. Let us let. I mean, I'm just watching a video here. They're literally pounding on the gate. Let us in. You can hear the bombing behind them. What's the plan? Is Russia going to get to run roughshod? Is Russia actually? And now guess what? On the day of this horrific attacks, guess who just became the president of Russia? Vladimir Putin. And there's been a question asked of me. Is Vladimir Putin Gog? And will he be what the Bible talks about in Ezekiel 38? Is he Gog, the leader of Magog? Have we come to this point in biblical prophecy? Has the world evolved into a time when the economy is collapsing, where nations like Greece and Ireland, Portugal and Spain, the EU in general, broke? America, so far in debt, it has no chance of recovering. The ultimately bankrupted nation will have to either A, surrender to communist China, or B, declare bankruptcy, insolvency, and start over with a one-world economy, a one-world currency, which has already been called for by Pope Benedict XVI of Rome, who senses that the economy is collapsing. While that's going on, dead birds, dead fish, and dead cows are dying all over the world. 165 hippos and elephants mysteriously died in Zimbabwe. 264 dolphins washed up on the shores north of Lima, Peru, even though dolphins are rarely even seen in that area. Cattle are dying by the thousands in Russia. Locusts swarm the lands of Ethiopia. Earthquakes in diverse places, and plumes of smoke is now coming forth out of the Madrid fault line along the seismic zone. Plumes, you can see them from the satellites in the sky. The government's official word on that is, don't worry about that. That's just forest fires of people burning off their lands. That's insanity. There's not a wildfires burning there. These plumes are huge, and I've seen them from satellite, and you can see them from satellite views. They're poof, they're coming out of nowhere, and then they disappear. A fire would continue to burn with smoke. Are you saved? We're running out of time. Pray for the people of Syria. Give your life to Jesus Christ. Send me a personal message. I want to be saved. I want to be saved.